Hi, so in this section of the video, we will discuss the second example of using positions detail to restrict the number of times we take entry in a particular stock, either on the buy side or on the sell side. So in this example, we will see this particular strategy that I've created. So that is basically 2PD trending stocks to value 2-time entry strategy. So the condition in this case is that the trade restriction that requirement that we have for this positions detail keyword is that we want to enter into all stocks on the buy side trade only 2 times. So whatever list we have created, suppose with the stocks that we have, it has suppose 4 stocks in that list, and if you want to trade in those 4 stocks only 2 times in the day, on the buy 2 times on the buy side and 2 times on the sell side, then how do we create that is what is discussed in this part of the video. So the strategy condition remains the same, that the list of it will be on a list of stocks. The set number 1 is for buy side entry on the list of stocks. Set number 2 is for the sell side entry on a list of stocks. So buy side entry value for each stock is rupees 5,000. Sell side entry value for each stock is rupees 5,000. All right, and the formula that we will be using for the entering into the buy side is basically positions detail entry by all value with the list name is less than equal to number 7,000, and enter and for the sell side it will be absolute, because the reason why we use the absolute keyword on the sell side is because the positions detail entry sell all value list name will essentially be negative, right? When we are selling the stock, it's basically minus. So in order to nullify that minus condition, we are using the keyword absolute, which will nullify that minus, and we can use the same number, like less than equal to number 7,000 on the sell side as well. So I will show you with an example and how we have also constructed this strategy. So over here, this is the strategy that we are discussing right now, 2PD trending stocks value 2-time entry. All right. So as you can see over here, let me just show you the trades that have happened. It has taken entry in Reliance 2 times on the buy side and 2 times on the sell side. Similarly for TCS also, it has done that. We will check the trades in detail and at the later stage in the video. Similarly on Tata Motors also it has done the same, and also on the Infosys side. So we will see the strategy conditions for this first of all. So I will go to the edit section of this strategy to show you the formula based on which this strategy is created. So first set is basically the buy side entry. So if you see in positions detail, we are buying basically 5,000 worth of quantity of each stock in the list. All right. So this trending stocks July has again how many? 4 stocks in this list, right? So we are buying 5,000 each time we enter into that stock into each stock. So the entry condition is simple, like the previous example that we have seen, that net quantity of 111 and 211, that should be 0. Time should be between this time 9:25 and 14:58, and it should be a simple crossover condition of close should be greater than super trend on a 5-2 parameter on a 1-minute candle, and also close should be less than super trend in the previous to previous candle, that is -2 on the same parameter. So whenever there is an upside crossover, it should buy the particular stock. All right, that is this particular list. And on the buy side, in order to enter 2 times, this is the formula that we are using. So let me just zoom in a little bit. I will show you that this is basically positions detail entry by value all value list of stocks is less than equal to number 7,000. Now we will discuss why we are using this value 7,000 for restricting the stocks entry 2 times. All right. So what is more important to understand over here is that when we are entering into this particular trade, the value that we are buying is basically 5,000 rupees worth of each stock. All right. So let me just explain you through this example that I have created on Excel. So entry value per stock on buy side is basically 5,000 rupees, right? So remember, for entering 1 time into buy side position, we use the formula positions detail entry by all value with the list name is equal to 0. So what 0 does is that whenever there is a positions detail with entry by is equal to 0, it means that there is no position that has been taken initially, and that's the reason why the position is 0. So whenever it takes a trade, automatically this number will be filled, right? So whenever this is filled, and for example, if shares get traded for worth of 5,000 rupees, then in that case this number positions detail will be basically around 5,000. It will not be number 0. So that's the reason it will restrict the trade the second time when we use this particular formula, that is positions detail entry by all value list name is equal to number 0. So when the first time entry buy happens in each stock worth approximately 5,000, the quota for positions gets filled, right? And the number changes from 0 to approx 5,000. So that is the reason why this gets basically filled. So now if we have to see the calculation approximately that happens, calculation is approximately in this case and not accurately exactly 5,000 because of the following trades that we can see. All right, so I'll give you an example. So over here in this particular trade, in this strategy, if you see, the Reliance got traded, initial entry was at 2392.55 and 2 shares have been bought over here, right? So because we have mentioned the value as 5,000, so 2392 into 2 shares comes to value of 4,784. All right, so always remember that whenever we put value as 5,000 in positions detail over here, in positions detail, when we put 5,000, it will take value of the trade that is approximately equal to this value in each stock. All right, obviously the trade exactly won't be matching, because if for example the prices is not exactly 2,500, then the value will not be approximately 5,000, right? So that's the reason why it will take whatever value is closest to this 5,000. So similarly for the second trade, if you see, the TCS was bought at 2977.65, right? So over here if you see the trade for TCS, it was bought at 2977.65. So that value comes to around 5,955 rupees. All right, and next the trade that has happened in Tata Motors, if you see it, the buy entry was here. First was the sell entry in Tata Motors. The second time the entry that happened was in Tata Motors was the buy entry. So over here when it bought at 435.90 into 11 shares, right? So that comes to around 4794 as the value of the trade. And for Infosys, it bought around the price is 1414 as we see over here, and it bought 4 quantity of at 1414. So that value comes to around 5656.8. So now basically the positions detail in this case is no longer equal to 0. Hence it will not take further trades when the positions detail is equal to 0. All right. Now in order to take the second time entry, we need to have a buffer that is more than 5,000, for which is for the initial entry, but should be which is for initial entry, and but should be less than the 2 times the initial value traded. So it should be less than 10,000. So in this case, that's the reason why we use the value positions detail entry by all value list name is less than equal to 7,000, because what happens is in this case when the initial trade gets completed, so it will record that the value of Reliance bought is 4,800, value of TCS bought is 5,900, then Tata Motors is bought as 4,700 and Infosys is bought at 5,656. Now when we use the value 7,000, what it will check is that even though this trade has happened, there is some buffer that is pending. So if this is for suppose 5,000 that has been traded, there is still 4,700 has been traded for Reliance. But that means that out of 7,000, 2,700 worth of trade is still pending in order to fill this quota of the positions detail keyword that we have. So that is the reason why it will go for the entry the second time. But it will again buy entry worth 5,000 only. And that's the reason why when this particular second time it gets filled, then automatically the positions detail will change from 4,700 into 2 times would be around say 9,000, which is basically greater than 7,000, and second time entry after that it will not take the next entry. All right, I hope this is becoming clear to you now. So for example in TCS the total traded value initially was 5955, right? So the next time it takes entry, that is around 6,000, right? So next time it takes entry, automatically it will be around 12, the value will be around 11,000, 12,000. And if you are using this as the condition, then in that case, the 12,000 is basically greater than this. So that's the reason why it will not go for the entry the third time. But if you see second time, if it's taken the trade, initially it is taken the trade for 5,955, which is less than basically the number 7,000 that we have put. So still 1,000 is the buffer that is pending over here. In this case, there is a buffer of 1,000, almost 2,300, and over here there is 1,400 buffer for Infosys, and for Tata Motors there is 2,300. So that's the reason why it is going for the re-entry the second time. All right. And similarly, so for example, but for only 2 times entry, make sure that the value does not exceed or is equal to 10,000, because if you put 11,000 as the value in the formula, then there can be additional buffer quota that will remain unused, because of which it will take the third time re-entry, right? So because initial entry is 5,000, second time entry is say total value is 10,000, and the third time entry on the 5,000 value basis will be 15,000. So for similarly for the third time entry, you can keep the value that is greater than 2 times the entry value but less than the 3 times the entry value. That should be less than 15,000. So for third time entry, if you want to take on either side, or buy side or buy side or sell side, then in that case position detail buy value should be around 13,000, because 5,000 is 0 means one time entry, 5,000 means would be around 2 times entry. So that's the reason why we are using 7,000 in this case. The third time entry would be basically around 10,000, right? So once the 10,000 is complete, it should not take the trade anything more than that. All right. So basically after when it takes the trade the third time, the positions detail will automatically be around, the value will be recorded as around 13 to 15,000, right? So it will not take the fourth trade. So that's the reason why we will restrict the trade this way in case of restricting the trade based on value. So I will just show you the trades that have happened. So first of all, let's go for Reliance. All right. So Reliance first buy entry has happened at so and so time. Let me just also show you the short side of the strategy. So this was the buy side that we saw, and similarly on the short side we will see that it's basically nothing but the downside crossover. So whenever there is an upside crossover, it will be basically buying the shares, and whenever there is a downside crossover that happens, it will exit the bought position over here and it will basically it will take the short position. That's what it does in this case with this particular keyword. All right. So we will see the position detail on the short side later on, but first of all, let us see the trades that it has taken. All right. So over here, so if you see Reliance, it took the first entry on the buy side was 2 quantities at 137, and it exited the same trade at 143.05, right? So since there was a short side signal that was generated, it took entry on the short side again at the same time at 143. It exited the long position and started entry in the short position and in 2 quantities worth 5,000 value, and it exited at around 154. Right after that, it again took entry on the long side, since there was a long side condition that got matched, and it again exited. So over here, if you see, this is basically nothing but the sequencing difference. See, this is the same time, right? So 2503 p.m. and 2503 p.m. So in this case, what has happened is this entry that it took at 1405 p.m. it got exited first in Reliance, and then after that it took entry again at 25 p.m. and that was exited at 210 p.m. All right. So if you see, the first buy entry was this one, second buy entry was this one, and first short entry was this one, and second short entry was this one. So that's the reason why it took total 2 entries on the buy side as well as on the short side, and after 2:10 p.m. It should have taken ideally the short position, right? Because the long position, because the short position has got exited. That means it the trend reversed, but it did not take because of the condition restriction that we had put through the positions detail. Similarly for TCS also, if you see, there was a first entry on the buy side at so and so time. The second entry on buy side was at 1:51 p.m. first short entry was at 1:46 p.m. and second short entry was at 2:45 p.m. and then after that there was universal exit directly. Remember that this strategy I deployed somewhere around 1:30 in the afternoon, so that's the reason why it has not shown trades early in the morning. Alright, so whenever you deploy the strategy, it will start checking conditions from that particular point in time. So that's the reason why it has taken 2 entries and then it stopped. Similarly, if you see Tata Motors as well, it entered into the short position at around 1:46. This was the first short entry. Second short entry, if you see, this was at around 2:08 p.m. Also, the first long entry was at 1:54 p.m. and the second long entry was at 2:11 p.m. and at 2:50 it got exited, and after that it has not taken any further trades. So that is how you can restrict. In this case, in Infi, there was just one trade that was generated because the signals might have been trending today. So that's the reason why it got entered on the buy side at 1:49 p.m. and it was active till universal exit happened at 3 p.m. All right. So that's how, if there was a downside condition that got matched, then in that case it would have taken multiple trades like the other stocks as well. All right. So that's how this particular condition works. So basically on the short side, right? So let me just tell you that. So similarly on the sell side, for 2 times entry, we are using this formula but with absolute keyword so as to nullify the impact of sell trade that is in negative value. So that's the reason why we're using this formula, that is absolute positions detail entry as all value list name is less than equal to number 7000. So if you see in the edit strategy in the set number 2, that is basically for short position, which is basically the same crossover condition, just that we're using this positions detail with absolute keyword, because in case of shorting, that is S, it's basically what it means is that we are selling the stock. So when we are selling, it should be in negative, right? So that value, in order to nullify the negative aspect of the positions detail keyword, the value that is recorded, instead of using minus number 7000, that will be a little confusing, we have used positions detail with absolute keyword. So minus and absolute keyword, what it will do is, instead of recording minus 7000, it will take 7000 as the absolute value rather than playing around with positive or negative. So that's how it will basically calculate 7000 for 2 times entry, as we discussed. Similarly on the buy side also, it has taken 7000 rupees, 7000 as the value, right? So that's why it entered 2 times, and that's how if you want to restrict the entry 3 times, if your initial entry is 5000, then you can keep the value as around, if the initial value is 5000, then in positions detail, in order to take the trade 3 times, you can change this value to maybe around 12,000 or 13,000, maybe 13,000 or 13,500, because that will be less than 15,000. All right, 4 times, in order to take 4 times entry, it should be less than somewhere around 20,000 but greater than 15,000. Similarly for 5 times entry, it should be basically less than 25,000 but greater than 20,000. So that's how this position detail keywords you can use to restrict the number of times you want to take entry in each stock on each side, that is either on the buy side or on the sell side. All right, I hope this part was clear, and we will discuss more examples in the upcoming videos for positions detail. Yeah, okay, all right, yeah.